everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my guide to reading more, specifically for the very lazy person. Now, you don't have to be lazy in order for this guide to work for you, but I know myself in particular, I just am so horrible for being lazy and it is one of my least favorite things about myself. But I wanted to help you guys out there that might have a New Year's resolution to try and read a little bit more like I do.
I know that New Year's was like forever ago, but oh well.
So I have my top 10 tips listed out for you guys today, and I hope that they will help you out. If not, I'm sorry, but you know, it's worked for me, so maybe it will work for you. So my absolute number one tip for a lazy person who wants to read more is to try audiobooks. Audiobooks are a different form of reading, and they are just a lifesaver for days when I am feeling particularly lethargic and I just don't even want to pick up a book, and the very act of flipping the pages just feels like way too much. So for that, I would definitely recommend audiobooks because you can just sit there, pop in some headphones, and just listen to a book. So you don't even have to do anything. Someone is reading to you. And as a lazy person, I know that someone doing the work for me gets a big thumbs up from me. So there are various places where you can get your audiobooks. Audible is a big one that I like using. I will leave the link down below for you guys to get 2 free audiobooks if you sign up for a free trial. But there are also so many other services out there. You can get audiobooks through your library. You can get different audiobooks for free legally because they are in the public domain. So I know LibriVox is a company that does that. There are just so many options out there. Overdrive, I'm trying to think of other ones. There are just a lot. So definitely do your research on where you can get audiobooks, and I hope that they work for you because they are a major game changer. My second tip is for if you actually decide to physically read a book, and that is to choose a really small book. Try and trick yourself into feeling productive, because I know if I feel like I'm making some progress in something, then I'm like, yes, and it motivates me to be less lazy about things. So I think I've done a video on quick reads in the past, but if you guys wanted an update, let me know and I will do that for you guys. But a great one for that is the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. There are 4 books out right now and all of them are under 200 pages. So that's definitely manageable. They're tiny. You will feel like an unstoppable speed reader going through these just because they are so small and they're not even complicated in ideas, so you definitely will be able to fly through them. So my third tip is, in addition to picking something that's small and will trick you into feeling like you are just blazing through it, pick something that you are very, very interested in and something that's not too complicated. So don't go for something that's like Shakespearean for your first book that you try, because you'll have to get used to the different language and it will just make reading a chore. And that's kind of a sub-tip to this, but don't make reading a chore. You don't want to feel like you're trudging through something and like you're forcing yourself to do it. The idea is to read for pleasure and have fun reading again. And if you're enjoying reading, then you will be more inclined to pick up a book more often, and in turn, you will end up reading more. My next tip is for where you decide to do your reading. So try not to read in a very comfortable place, a comfortable position, if you are having trouble with keeping your attention and focus on your book, or even falling asleep while you're reading, because if you're reading laying down in your bed, chances are you're gonna fall asleep, because reading is a very relaxing activity. So I even do it. I'll be reading and the next thing I know, I'm reading with my eyes closed and I'm like, wow, that's magical. How did I do that? So try and read in an uncomfortable position. Try and make yourself pay attention to what you're reading by maybe changing positions every so often and reading on the floor even, just somewhere where you won't fall asleep and your attention won't be as inclined to wander. So now you've picked out what you're going to read and you have your spot where you're going to read it. So now how are you going to focus on what you're reading? So my next tip is pretty obvious, but I think it's still worth saying. Keep your phone and any other distractions away from you. Obviously, if your phone's there, you're going to want to pick it up. The bottom line is, if you want to focus on anything, you need to minimize distractions and put your phone away. My next tip is to set an actual allotted time for your reading, and once again, a kind of sub-tip to this is to set realistic goals. Say that you're going to read 50 pages in a week, because for someone who's really lazy and hasn't been reading a lot, that will be kind of a difficult goal to get to. So you need to consider your reading speed and then act accordingly accordingly and set yourself a goal and give yourself a reward. Say you finish those 50 pages in a week, then you'll get a chocolate bar. I don't know, just reward yourself when you do accomplish something, because a reward is definitely great encouragement to keep going and strive for your goals, even though sometimes you might not want to. But also set mini goals for yourself. So set a timer. I'm gonna read for 30 minutes right now. I'm going to read as many pages as I can. Do mini reading sprints on your own and just try and challenge yourself and push yourself to get reading, but don't do it to a point where reading is going to become a chore for you. So there's kind of a fine balance there. But the idea behind those tips is that it's just taking a teeny tiny portion out of your day, and then for the rest of the day you can go back to being lazy. So my next tip is one that I've mentioned frequently, and it's because I think it's one that is very helpful, and that is to try and read at the same time every day. That way you're kind of forming a habit, and it becomes second nature almost to, oh, it's 7 o'clock, I'm gonna pick up my book now and read for 30 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes, whatever. You're kind of tricking yourself into making it part of your routine that you have to accomplish every single day. Now, I know as a lazy person, sometimes my daily routine doesn't get done, but at least you will be a little bit more inclined to try and do it. In theory, of course. So all of these tips are great, but the person who is an expert at procrastination and is extremely lazy is going to try and find every way around doing these things and try and use every excuse in the book, but So the way to try and combat that is accountability. One thing you can do is join a book club. Pick a book club that is reading things that are interesting to you, or join a book club with your friends. Kind of have the set goal of trying to read more and actually read for your book club. So if you have other people to discuss what you're reading with, you're going to be more likely to actually read it, because you don't want to be sitting there as they're discussing it and you don't know what they're talking about because you didn't read it, because that's just boring. You can also buddy read something. So if you don't have a big group of friends, which I know I don't, then pick someone to just buddy read something with. That way you two can kind of keep each other accountable. But if you don't actually have someone who wants to read something with you, that's totally fine. You can still tell someone what you're reading, and then most times I feel like social convention, they'll be like, oh, let me know how it is, or blah, blah, blah. So that's just another way to add accountability. If someone knows what you're reading and you like constantly have your book on your desk, it's a good thing to keep your book visible to you also. But if you have someone that you know wants to know about what you're reading and it's kind of something that has come up in conversation before, then I know for me personally, that accountability does wonders for me. That will actually make me read something. Now I have a couple of honorable mentions here. So another thing that you can do is try and teach yourself how to speed read. I don't speed read. I read at my own pace and I'm totally fine with that. Reading isn't a race for me. It's just something that I do for enjoyment. But if you have a lot of books that you want to read and you find that speed reading is something that is enjoyable for you, there are tons of videos out there that will help you learn how to speed read. So that's a good way to up your productivity and up the amount of books that you're reading without taking a lot of time out of your day. Another thing that you can do is, if you really like buying books but you find yourself never reading them, calling myself out right now, I shouldn't say never because I do read a lot of them, but I buy way too many and there's no way I can possibly read all of them. So give yourself a book buying ban. So say there's like a sequel or something coming out, or there's a book that you're really excited about that's coming out, then set yourself the challenge of having to read so many books before you can get to that one you're really excited about. Which brings me to my final tip, which might seem counterproductive, and this is one that I've talked about in my reading slumps video as well, but don't be afraid to DNF books, and DNFing means did not finish. So if you're reading a book and you're really not liking it and you feel like you are just trudging through a pile of mud trying to get through it, put it down and move on to something else. You don't have to necessarily give up on the book forever. You might just not be in the mood for it, or you totally can give up on the book forever and give it to someone you think might like it, donate it somewhere, don't just throw it out, just give it to someone and give it a new life where someone else might actually enjoy it. I don't think that there's any shame in reading what you enjoy and not wasting time on what you don't enjoy. I hope that made sense, but basically the bottom line is read what you want and don't make it a chore, or else you're not gonna want to do it. So I hope that this might help you out with reading a little bit more. If you are watching this video, then obviously you have the goal in mind of wanting to read more, and that's the first step. If you already want to do that, then you're halfway there and you just need to put in a teeny tiny amount of work to actually accomplish it. So go forth and read what you want, read however many books you want, and just know that even reading one book in a year is more than a lot of people do nowadays, so that is something to be very proud of. So I hope that these tips helped you out and you maybe read a page or two today.
I also wanted to mention that Bookmarked did a whole chapter on this topic, so I will link that live show down below for you guys, and you can check it out if you wanted some more tips from Hannah and Zoe and myself.
But that's going to be all for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'm also a part of the Bookmarked live show every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but all the information for that, as well as all of my social media links, will be down below for you guys. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!